everyone, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. I have another story time. You guys love these videos and I'm so happy you love them because I really truly enjoy just sitting down and talking to you guys like we're friends, hanging out at a sleepover, sharing our juiciest stories. So today I'm going to be talking to you about my first job. So if you guys haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. That way you can be notified every time I upload a new video, especially story times. So because of the nature and the intensity of this story, I don't want to get in any kind of like legal trouble. All of the issues I'm about to tell you happened, were dealt with, so don't just continue watching this story thinking that nothing was resolved, because it most certainly was. So we'll just call it working in the food court. That's essentially what it was. It was just like nasty, greasy fast food, like popcorn, pretzels, nachos, pizza type of situation. So I was working in a food court and this was literally my first job ever. I started when I was 15 and worked there until I was like about to turn 17. So I was really stoked about it. It actually paid really well for kind of an entry-level position. I think it was one of those jobs that was not really desirable, so they did pay more. I made about like $8.75 an hour or something like that, and I was in school. Obviously at the time I was in high school. I was hired as part-time, but I ended up working more of a full-time schedule. I worked about 35 hours. So when you go from making nothing to something, it's like amazing. So I was so excited about my first job. The actual place I was working in, I loved. I did not so love the food court, but I loved having a job and kind of a different responsibility. It was really fun for me. So now that I've kind of like set the scene for you guys, I'm just gonna kind of get right into the nitty-gritty of it. The girl that I worked with was very out there. She was very outspoken. She had zero filter on her mouth whatsoever. She was very disgusting, very sexual in a way. Not towards me, but just kind of the way that she talked about like guys she was hooking up with. She was quite a bit older than me. So like I said, I was around 16 when I had this job. She was like 26, and so she had quite a bit more life experience on her than I did at the time. So she was talking about all her boyfriends and all the people that she was hooking up with, just giving me a disgusting amount of detail that I had no desire to know about. So she was the one that I worked with almost every single day. The other lady I worked with was quite a bit older. She was in her 50s, and then there was a really strange guy they hired that I had to work with, but not for very long because he got in a lot of trouble. So I'm not going to obviously give names, but this one girl that I worked with most, the one that was very open and no filter girl, very quickly into me working there, she started giving me the rundown of like all of the horrible things that they did that they were not supposed to do. It was crazy. Like they would make custom pizzas, which you weren't supposed to do. You were literally supposed to only make cheese and pepperoni and like sausage, and that was it. They had specific like lineups of stuff that you could do. Same with like the pretzels. It was basically cinnamon and sugar, or the salt with cheese. Same with the popcorn, but like they did custom stuff, let me tell you. For the pizza, she was like, oh yeah, we make like barbecue chicken pizza, and like I'm like, where in the heck do you get the chicken? Well, there was chicken fingers, and she would like cut up the chicken fingers and like put it on, and you were not supposed to do that. I had no idea if what she was doing was to health code or not. But the grossest part of this story, you guys, which just like pains me to know that this kind of stuff went on and possibly goes on other places. She was one of those people that takes everything very personally. So if you cross her, you're done, like just literally done. Thankfully, I never crossed her. We were always on pretty good terms. I didn't agree with a lot of the stuff that she did, but I knew the type of person she was. I'm very good at reading people. So I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna get too opinionated back with her. I'm just gonna soak in the information, not necessarily like dish it out and throw it back. She let me know which employees she liked and which employees she did not like. And let me tell you, if you were one that she didn't particularly like, you ate some really disgusting bodily things that no person should ever eat of another person's body. Let me explain. So if she didn't like you, she would do the typical spit in your food thing. Again, this was my first job, so a lot of this she was doing like right in front of me, but I didn't quite know how to handle it because it was my first experience, and so I was thinking, surely this is just kind of like a one-time thing. Maybe they had some beef and they didn't quite work it out. I don't know. So I held back on saying anything because I didn't want to be that new girl that was just telling on everybody who had already been there for a really long time. But as time went on, it got worse and worse and worse, and things got more and more disgusting. And there was one particular incident that I will get to that just was the most disgusting thing I've ever heard of literally in my entire life, and really was the straw that broke the camel's back, as it should have been. So anyway, like I said, she did the typical spit in the food thing. She would mix really random things into stuff that it shouldn't have been in. Like she would go and get vinegar or make things spicy when they shouldn't have been spicy. Like she would mix jalapeno juice into some of the cheese that was supposed to be with the pretzels. She did a lot of like kind of messed up stuff to kids that were maybe being a little bit of a handful in the food court. There was a certain amount of time you were supposed to leave the pizzas and like other stuff like that on the little warmer, and she would let it go way beyond what it was recommended to leave it on there for, so it was like stale and gross. She would give that to kids who had a bad attitude. That was messed up, I thought, and especially now being a mom, I'm like, oh my gosh, if someone ever did that to my child, Lord help them. So I think you kind of get the feel for it. It was just a really bad situation. She was doing horrible things. She probably did tons of things I didn't even know about. There were times that, you know, a kid would order a brownie and whatever else, and they were maybe being a handful or kind of, you know, just not real polite, but hello, they're kids. She would go and get like a frozen brownie out of the freezer and give it to them instead of the thawed out one that was like in a little container ready to eat. So the most disgusting part of this entire story, she told me, which this was a little bit messed up on the job facilities part as well. They were not good about giving you breaks. By law, you're supposed to be allowed, you know, a 30-minute eating break. I think it's for an 8-hour shift, maybe a 6-hour shift or something, but by law, you are supposed to be able to get a break at some point in your shift, even if it's a quick 15-minute break. There would be times that I would literally go straight from school to work and then not get home until like 10:30 at night, and I didn't get a break. So the break system was really, really messed up. Again, that was addressed and taken care of. So she told me about some really disgusting things that they did to get back at the managers for not giving them a proper break. So like I said, it was a two-part problem. Nobody deserves what I'm about to tell you that happened, but also by the same token, you should definitely be able to have your break. So like I told you, it was junk food. There was nachos, there was a big, huge jar of like jalapenos in the back. She said, obviously, you know, as you started to use the jalapenos, the juice inside went down. So guess what has a relatively similar color to jalapeno juice? Human pee. They would literally pee in the tubs of jalapeno juice, and when the managers would come, the one specific manager we had, she loved her nachos and she would always get jalapenos on them. And as a way to get back at her for not letting us have our breaks, she would literally go back there whether she had to pee or not. Sometimes it was a situation where, you know, there was one person working the cash register and people would come up and want to order and there would be literally no one there and you'd need to go pee or whatever, and they would not allow you to go to the restroom if there was nobody else there to cover the cash register, which is understandable. However, they did a really poor job of scheduling people to be together so that didn't become an issue. So a mix of working by yourself and needing to take a break and not being able to, and also whatever personal vendetta she had against the manager, she literally had a specific jar of jalapenos that she peed in and would give to the manager, and she said, oh, it's so acidic and so, you know, whatever, you can't ever taste the pee. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so freaking disgusting. I have no words for what I heard just come out of her mouth, and I couldn't believe she told me. She was probably just thinking, oh, this kid's young, she's not going to say anything. She hasn't said anything yet, so why would she say anything now? So she told me, and I probably just looked like a deer in the headlights when she told me this information because I was so disgusted. It literally set off my gag reflex. I remember just standing there like the world was spinning around me. I was like, oh my gosh, you're feeding people your pee? That is next level crazy. I just didn't have any idea what to do. So by the time she told me this, it was her and I closing. We had to like shut the kitchen down, clean everything. The managers were nowhere to be around, obviously. So I literally remember going home. I didn't even tell my parents because I was like, so disgusted. I didn't want them to be like, oh, she's gonna get in trouble for being in on this, because I was not even remotely in on this. I was just kind of trying to figure out at that point what in the heck I should do. I remember telling a few of my friends and they were like, oh my gosh, that is so disgusting, because the place I worked at was a place that a lot of us went pretty frequently. So everyone was just so disgusted. They were all like, you need to, without a doubt, tell the managers. So my next shift, which was the following day, I went in and told the managers, and I was just like, I have no idea what to do. I'm so disgusted. I felt so bad having that information, and if I didn't say anything, because for all I know, the next time the manager goes over on my shift, I see her feeding her these jalapenos, and I'm like, I know what's in that. I would not be able to be okay with myself knowing that she was about to dive into jalapeno marinated urine. So, oh, it was so disgusting, and I will never forget the look on her face when I told her what was going on. She was so disgusted. She looked like she was literally gonna just projectile vomit on the spot. Given the situation, she was actually fairly professional. She said, "Thank you for telling me. Obviously this is gonna be dealt with." And crazy girl was literally brought into the office and fired within a matter of minutes. And so at that point I was kind of scared because I knew that she knew it was me. So I didn't end up working at that job for very long, needless to say, after that. But that was the craziest experience of my life. Fast food really, really scares me, especially knowing that people don't always really care about health codes or blatantly ignore them or specifically do things to sabotage the food. Obviously, this is not the situation for everyone or every fast food restaurant or every food court. Definitely there are places that have really high standards for, you know, health and food preparation, but holy cow, I've never eaten at the specific place ever again because I just did not trust it. I knew there was not enough like regulation in place to make sure that that kind of stuff would not happen. So this girl would literally say, "Oh, I'm gonna get whatever out of the fridge," go in there, close the door, pop the lid open on the jalapenos, and pee in the fridge, which also is disgusting because I don't know what her aim was like, but if she missed at all and there was like pee on the floor, that like contaminates the entire fridge. Like I said, I cannot believe she ever told me that. So anyway, not to scare you guys about fast food for the rest of your life, but holy cow, it was so disgusting. So that was my story about my first job. Like I said, I will never forget it for many, many reasons. What was your first job like? I would love to know where or how your first job was. Leave me your stories down below of your first job experiences, or even maybe not your first job, but if you ever had any like disgusting experiences like the one I just told you about, leave that in the comments down below. Like I said, one of my favorite things on these storytime videos is going through and reading your comments and your different experiences on the topic. So yeah, definitely check that out and leave your comment down below. That is it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm so glad you guys enjoyed these videos. If you enjoyed this one, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Love you. Bye.